Start to listen. You're watching Kimmy Speaks.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Kimmy Speaks. This is vlog 37. I'm so glad to be with you guys here today. Have something pretty interesting I want to talk about today. But I will get back to that after the song, because today I thought I'll switch it up a little bit. I'm thinking maybe I'll put the song in the beginning and then we'll tackle the topic at the end. So this album is called Set on Fire, and it's by a Christian ministry called Purified, and so they call it Purified Ministries. And so this album called Set on Fire is it's really interesting album. As you guys probably know, I like Christian hip hop, although I like other types of music as well. But this album here is offered for free on their website, and I like that it's to the point. So without me talking so much about it, I'm gonna let you guys listen. So once again, the album is called Set on Fire. It's by Purified Ministries. The links will be, of course, in the description box. And let's take a listen. Alright guys, so that was Purified's album called Set on Fire. Once again, the links of course would be in the description box where you guys can find it. And they are offering a free download on their website, either on Rec City or Purified Ministries, and of course the link will be at the bottom. Alright guys, so what I want to talk to you guys today about is the issue of justice. Now, to be honest with you, justice has always been kind of like a little bit of a shaky topic with me, as far as it's just a really tough, for me personally, it's just something really tough to deal with. Like, for instance, you know, there are a lot of injustices that happen. There are the big injustices, and then there are the small injustices. So, for instance, let me give an example. This might seem weird, but it's an everyday type of thing. A postal service, right? Postal service that I live next to, the workers aren't, well, not all of them. There are certain workers who just have an attitude 24/7. And so when you go there to pick up your mail, they just give you this attitude. And so what I feel about that is sometimes I get online and there are other people and I know that they feel the same way. So I might turn around and say, hey, you know, go ahead of me. I'm gonna wait for the next clerk, and they're like, no, I'm gonna wait for the next clerk too. I'm just like, wow, you know. And it's kind of like sometimes you just want something to be done about it, but you don't know what to do about it. And then sometimes there are issues such as the current transit situation, where they say, you know, go ahead and go to the meetings and go to the rallies and do this and do that. And it's like, even though you do this or do that, the outcome is still what they decide, and sometimes it feels discouraging for me. I remember I think it was a transit system issue a little while ago. Well, you know, it's always an issue because they're always raising those fares. So there was an issue where I just wanted the fare to be reasonable, you know, and I'm a college student, you know, and some of you guys are college students, some of you guys are parents, some of you guys are children, you know, teens or whatever, but I wanted to be somewhat, you know, fair, you know. It's kind of like, you know, they cut the services on Saturday and Sunday. You gotta take the shuttle bus, and that takes forever, and you know, it just takes you longer to get downtown. It's kind of like the weekend is when it's really hustling and bustling, so you want it to be faster. And so with that, it felt like an injustice because it was like, what do I do about this situation? You know, if I go to meetings or I do this or I do that, what happens? You know, I've yet to see, you know, currently now, I've yet to see where something has worked out for what we want. So for me personally, I feel at times discouraged when it comes to justice. You know, and so it's really interesting because this topic tonight, justice, I thought about it earlier during the week, and I was like, I really don't want to talk about justice. I don't know, for some reason I just felt like I wanted to talk about it, but I was like, I really don't want to talk about it, you know, and because I didn't want to say I'm discouraged by it. You know, some of you guys are advocates, and I advocate for things too. I just do not like injustice, and I mean, when there's injustice such as in something I can deal with, like some child that lives close to me that I could help them because there's some type of injustice happening in the home, you know, I can deal with those things. But big issues like transit systems and postal services and something as simple as the building being cleaned where I live, you know, those seem like the really tough issues. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about those things. So, like I said, I didn't want to talk about the issue of justice, you know. And then what ended up happening was every day this week, or a couple of times this week I should say, the issue or the topic of justice, the theme of justice kept coming up. So there's a class I'm taking called Hosea, Amos, and Micah. And the chapter we're reading right now is on the introduction into the book of Micah. So I'm just going to read a little snippet of that, and I'll try to squeeze in some scripture. Guys, so this is about the context of Micah, right? Actually, it's the social and economic conditions. Can I read that whole thing? Yes, I'm gonna read that whole thing because it has some points that maybe I could pull out at the end, or maybe you guys just really listen and hear it, right, and think about it. But here, this is a book called the NIV Application Commentary. I'll put the link in the description box so that you guys can, you know, buy it. You know, it's a really awesome book. It's a commentary on the books of Hosea, Amos, and Micah, and it's by Gary V. Smith. All right, so this is page 423 of that book. All right, so this is on the social and economic conditions that Micah's addressing. Here we go. Micah does not give a full explanation of the socio-economic situation in his messages, but if one puts together his limited information with comments in Isaiah, Kings, and Chronicles, the general picture becomes clearer. Right? The Syro-Ephraimite War in 734 through 732 BC and the conquest of the nation of Israel by Sargon II in 722 and 721 BC in the days of Ahaz, plus Sennacherib's attack in 701 BC in the time of Hezekiah, brought about major destruction of property, the loss of many lives, the exile of talented business people and politicians, and the displacement of thousands of people who were trying to escape the Assyrian onslaught. The destruction of key civic institutions, the fracturing of families, the pillaging of farms and cities, and heavy taxation after these wars left the remaining people in a crisis situation. One only has to read about the social and economic consequences of wars today to get a little insight into the lasting tragedy war brings to a community. So, right now, sorry guys, I'm itching. Right now, we notice there's a connection obviously between justice and community. justice, lack of justice, injustice, abuse of justice, which kind of all means the same thing, affects community, right? All right. A large increase in poor immigrants into Judah when the northern nation of Israel was defeated only added to the social upheaval and economic pressure in Judah. Even though Sennacherib did not defeat the city of Jerusalem in 701 BC, the rest of the nation suffered an enormous social and economic blow to its vitality because his soldiers pillaged the country, taking whatever they wanted. After each war, families had to start over from scratch, and many of these families were now without a son or father to do some of the heavy work. In times of great social and economic change, the special responsibility is placed on governments to help the weak. A complicated factor is the added pressure war places on the wealthy who now struggle to maintain their lifestyles. Consequently, in the days of Ahaz, the powerful attempted to seize land from the weak. That's in chapter 2, verses 1 through 2. People robbed defenseless war refugees on the road after the fall of the nation of Israel, 2nd chapter, 8th verse, and took advantage of vulnerable widows who lost their husbands in the war, 2nd chapter, 9th verse. Even in the early years of Hezekiah, politicians did not stand up for justice, 3rd chapter, 1st through 2nd verse, 9th verse. Judges were swayed by bribes, 3rd chapter, 11th verse, and lives were sacrificed to get government building projects done quickly, 3rd chapter, 10th verse. Micah despised these abuses and tried to persuade the leaders and his audiences to restore justice in the land of Judah. Later in the reign of Manasseh, Micah complained about the violence and deceitfulness of the wealthy and the use of improper scales by businessmen cheating their clients. That's the 6th chapter, 10th to 12th verse. Politicians, judges, and the powerful in society were again shedding into innocent blood, taking bribes and scheming to take advantage of others. 7th chapter, 2nd through 4th verse. Social distrust grew so bad that one had to be careful what one said to a friend, and even to a spouse or children. 7th chapter, 5th through 6th verse. This was not a pleasant time to live in Judah, and it was especially difficult to be a prophet of God. So, with that read, the points that really stuck out to me was the fractured families, the pillaging of farms and cities, the heavy taxation on the remaining people, right? Families having to start over from scratch because of the war, and not having a son or father to help with that type of stuff. Widows being abused, taken advantage of. People just struggling to live with their lifestyles, as well as politicians not standing up for justice. Judges being swayed by bribes, and lives being sacrificed to get building projects done quickly. We see that now, you know, like the word tells us, there's nothing new underneath the sun. There's nothing new. Everything that happens now happened then. It might be a different series of events or a different, if this was a math problem, it would be a different syntax, you know, but the same thing's happening. And so those are the things that bother me about when I think about justice. You know, when I think about justice, those are things I wrestle with. I wrestle with those things. How do I vote for a politician if I never knew them? You know, sometimes maybe it's just me, but I really feel like these politicians just pop out of nowhere, and they're like, yeah, and they got photos, and I'm just like, who are you? I never saw you in this block before. You never did it. I never saw you do anything for my community. You know, where'd you come from? So those type of things that I struggle with, yeah, they're tough for me to kind of define, because for me, I'm trying to look for that balance in between the two, you know, and that's pretty much my struggle with justice. So the question that I have for you guys today is, what do you think of justice? Is justice something or an idea that you struggle with? And be sure to leave your prayer requests and praise reports in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching.